at Link 2022, put on by Pluralsight. And today we're going to be talking about a really interesting thing where there are a lot of people who have impacted our journeys in technology. But I want to start by introducing the people that we have along with us. Aaron, do you want to start?
Sure. Yeah, I'm Aaron Sconard, the co-founder and CEO of Pluralsight.
Ryan?
Yep, so I'm Ryan Cronenberg, co-founder of A Cloud Guru and now a Pluralsight instructor.
I'm Lars Clint, and I am a part of the DevRel team at Pluralsight, so along with Matthias.
Yeah, thanks. So, Aaron, one of the things that you mentioned this morning was your story about how you got into technology, and I thought that would be so perfect for this conversation. So, do you mind telling that story again for the stream?
Sure, happy to. My story started when I was a child, and my father brought home one of the first Apple II computers, and surprised us with it, and he was an accountant by trade, but had a sense that this personal computing device was going to have a big impact on the world. He wasn't sure exactly how, but knew computers are the future. Yeah. I want my kids to be part of that. And so he brought it home, and we grew up in humble circumstances, and so we set up this makeshift workstation down in our unfinished basement. And I remember the day we booted up that computer for the first time and just sort of delved into it. And there weren't a lot of software, programs at the time. Not a lot of games even. And so he bought a few programming books on the Apple, the basic programming language, and we cracked them open, and he started teaching me how to code our own games.
Nice.
And so as we delved into that, I got more and more interested. I remember getting one of the Mad magazines at the time, and there was this secret basic program at the end. I'm like, I know that language.
Yeah.
And so I spent hours and hours typing it. It was like a page full of code. I typed it all in to see what it would render. It was going to render some image. Yeah. And in the end, it rendered an image of Alfred Newman, the mascot of the magazine, right on the screen in the green terminal, in all its glory. And I was so proud, so excited. I showed all my friends and my family, and I just thought, man, this is amazing. I can tell this computer, what to do with this language. And then it was sort of I'm a creator, I can create things, right? And it just sort of tapped into this thing inside of me of there's endless possibilities heading down this path. Later on in my life, though, fast forward a decade, as I was entering university, everyone was telling me to head down other paths, be a doctor, be a lawyer, be some other boring profession. And no offense, I've got doctors and lawyers in the family, I can say that. But in the end, at the time, a degree in computer science actually wasn't very well respected. It was kind of early. It was there's not a lot of discipline or rigor around this. It definitely wasn't respected in the same way as some of those other professions. But in the end, I followed my heart, and I decided, I'm going to go for it. I'm going to do what I love. This feels really good. It's exciting. It feels like the future is heading here. And so I did it, and I've never regretted it ever since. Nice. And so now I've become the chief recruiting officer for the tech industry. Yeah. I'm just constantly trying to have those conversations with other 18-year-olds, in the world who are trying to figure out, what am I going to go do next? And I tell them, if you're not sure what you want to do, this is a good default choice.
There you go.
Just you won't regret it. So anyway, I spend a lot of time talking to young people about that very question, because it's such a big question, and there's this massive gap in the world, and we need more amazing people, from a variety of backgrounds, to come in and help us with this, because there's just so much to go do. So that's the story. And now, that led into my career, because once I got through school, got my computer science degree, started, writing code for a living, within a couple of years, I only had a few years of experience, I felt this draw to go do what my dad did for me for other people. And I actually was more inspired by that than actually the act of writing code. I wanted to teach people about it.
Right.
And that's what led to my career in training, eventually starting Pluralsight. And even now, with this event, called Link, I mean, my dad was the link for me into tech.
Yeah.
I became a link for other people through my teaching, my writing, my conference speaking. Ryan's done the very same thing for millions of people in the cloud space.
Yeah.
And that's what we're celebrating this week at this event is
Yeah.
this, like, how we create these links for people into this amazing community.
I love it. That's such a powerful story. And I mean, the way you summarize that about it being the links between people from one person to the next, to the next, to the next, it's really interesting when you take a look at the whole network of people. It's not one person. It's so many that have contributed to that. And so I'm also just really happy to be a part of that to help people move forward. I was going to joke that you can attribute all of the Pluralsight and your tech career to Mad Magazine, but we know that your dad had a much bigger part in that.
Oh, that was part of it too.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
No, that's really great. Thanks. So Ryan, what about you? Do you want to tell us a little about your?
Actually, I have a similar story to Aaron.
Yeah.
It's just slightly different. So I grew up in Australia, again, very humble background. Did a degree in accounting and finance, decided that I was going to be an accountant, and also did a graduate diploma in immigration law. Graduated in 2003, moved to the UK 2004. Worked as an accountant for a year, figured out it's not what I wanted to do. I had the graduate diploma in immigration law, so I started a business. I've always been a bit of an entrepreneur, so started a business helping people emigrate to Australia, New Zealand, Canada, and into the UK. And I was one of the only lawyers in the world who was able to do 4 jurisdictions, and built up quite a big business, over 100 staff at its height. And I was pretty young at the time. I was like 24, 25. But then the credit crunch came, the global financial crisis, or whatever it is you want to call it, in about 2008. And what happened was basically all the countries closed the immigration or made it really hard to migrate across to other countries to in order to protect their local labor force. And of course the housing market completely dropped. And so in order to move from one country to another, you need to be able to sell your house.
Yeah.
And if there's no mortgages to be had, then it's very hard to sell your house. So basically had to shut the company down. I was really stressed. I wanted to get into an industry that I was going to enjoy working in, but would also be, in my view, recession-proof. And tech was like the obvious answer. So I went to night school, did my CCNA, my MCSE, so my Microsoft and Cisco qualifications. And I actually got a job at a homeless charity, teaching homeless people like how to get online and just use basically the internet. I did that for the first sort of 3 months, and off the back of getting my Microsoft and Cisco certifications, got a job at Rackspace, and that was in 2010. And so at the time, it was Rackspace versus Amazon in the cloud. So I was working as a sysadmin, very quickly got made a solutions architect. And I always watched the Amazon space, having come from the Rackspace background. At Rackspace, it was very small business focused, and I really wanted like bigger server deals. So Rackspace was always 2 web servers, 2 database servers, and there's only so long you can go selling that before it gets frustrating. So I worked my way through like the UK industry, ended up becoming an infrastructure architect, very highly skilled in multiple sites, MPLS, disaster recovery, all this sort of stuff. But then Amazon rolled out CloudFormation, and I could see where the wind was blowing. It's like they're taking infrastructure, they're scripting it, and if I don't learn to be a cloud engineer, suddenly I'm going to be highly skilled and not have no demand for my skills. So I need to shift my skills in the direction that the market's going. So I really wanted to get a job at Amazon. I got a job interview with them. The whole process took 4 months from start to finish, quite technical. And I was trying to learn as much about Amazon as possible, but most of the education was in classroom, and it was £1,500 per course. There was 4 courses, and so it was basically like a year's worth of tuition at a university to do all the Amazon courses at the time. And I tried to do some online courses, couldn't find any that I thought were particularly good. I hadn't heard of Pluralsight at the time, just to be fair.
No shade.
Other courses. And I just remember thinking to myself one day, like getting frustrated, like if I don't get this job at Amazon, I'm just going to create courses because there's a huge demand and need for it right now. And I didn't get the job. I found out just before Christmas, probably like 3 weeks before Christmas. And I was like devastated because it was the first tech job I never got. But then it just motivated me to create some online courses. And so, yeah, I launched the first course on the 9th of January 2015. Within a couple of weeks, it was like going crazy. So I ended up trying to decide to do more. I did it through Reddit.
Yeah.
Basically gave away like a couple of 100 free coupons.
Yeah, I remember there's a story you've told before about when you were first launching that course, and you got some support from the Reddit community. How did that turn out?
Yeah, so basically I gave out 200 free coupons to the course and just said, can you give me feedback? And I hadn't actually done the exam when I launched the course. So I launched the course as I was going to do the exam.
Yeah.
And I accidentally left my phone onto silent mode and put it in a locker. And every time somebody on Reddit signed up to the course, my phone would vibrate. So I had an email saying someone signed up. And I'm trying to do my exam. I can just hear my phone buzzing in the background constantly. I'm like, oh my God, what have I done?
Yeah.
But no, it worked out really well. I believe we met through Reddit.
Yeah.
Actually, we met at reInvent, but some of our very first employees and instructors were Redditors. So it built up the community there.
Yeah, I definitely found out about A Cloud Guru using some Reddit posts as well. So that was a part of me connecting with A Cloud Guru actually. So you were saying that you had the phone in the locker. It's going wild. You come out of the exam and then I
passed the exam, thank God.
Excellent, congratulations. Yes.
Coming out of the exam, I was like, oh my God, I need to add all this stuff to the course, which I then did. And then I made some more courses. Got my brother involved. My brother was a software engineer at the time. I didn't know anything about software, but I really wanted to make my own platform. And so I was trying to do it through Joomla. And I was like, man, I should just get Sam to do this because Sam's like a hardcore software engineer from Microsoft.
It's a really good choice. I mean, getting Sam involved.
And so I managed to convince him. So he only had 4 weeks. Well, he only has 4 weeks leave a year. And he took his full 4 weeks off to build the school. So he took his whole annual leave off in one go to help his brother build an online school.
That's super cool. Yeah.
3 kids at the time. You can imagine how impressed his wife was to say, I'm not going to see the kids for this year.
But what a support, right? I mean, that's obviously that was a key link to your progression into being able to build that business.
Yeah, exactly. And then, Sam, we launched our own platform in September, so roughly 9 months later, and the rest is history. 6 years in, having the time of our lives, we've joined the Pluralsight family.
Yeah.
And,
And I would just want to call out, I know you mentioned it a little bit, but I wanted to say that both of you have had such an impact on so many people. I think that me too, right? Like all of us, and literally millions of people have had their lives changed because of the things that you've built. Obviously, it's not just you two by yourselves. It's the whole organizations that you've connected.
The teams as well behind us.
Sure.
Done it without
but it's then those additional links, right?
Yeah.
So it's your support for individuals and then your support for more people to then go out. I know that has been a support to me in the roles I've had, that I've felt definitely empowered to go out and to reach people. That's what we want to be able to do, and that's what's really exciting about this. So
totally. I mean, I think that's why. It's why I get up every day and just as excited today as I was in the beginning about the work we do, and why I think our collective teams, have been so inspired by the work that we do, because it actually changes people's lives. You can work for software companies where you sell different types of software for different types of business purposes. And sometimes it's hard to know the actual impact it's having on humans. In our space, it's pretty darn clear. And
have it any other way.
That's just the beautiful thing. And I think here at this event this week, that's also what's so amazing about what's happening here is we're now, building this community across, so many incredible leaders who drive the energy across so many different software communities. That it's sort of like an extra level of, connection that's just super exciting.
giving
Yeah.
back where we can, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very cool.
Yeah, paying it forward, right?
Yeah.
That's right.
So Lars, can you tell us a little bit about
Yeah.
your story as well? Because you were telling me there was something interesting.
So I have this like backwards way that I got inspired, or
Mhm.
you know, that someone created like opportunity for me, which
Uh-huh.
is kind of interesting in hindsight. So I studied in Australia. I came from Denmark. Studied in Australia for 4 years, and because I paid tuition, which I didn't have to do in Denmark, I gave it everything. I was the uber nerd. So I finished first in everything. Right. So I got Dean's Medal 3 years in a row, and like all this, complete triple major, everything. Right. And then you graduate. I'm like, I'm the king of the world. Like, what could possibly go wrong, right? Yeah. So I get my first job as a programmer. I'm developing software for a logistics company. I feel like I'm quite good at it. It's all .NET, and I'm doing like, I used a very early version of Google Maps API, and I was doing like live tracking of trucks and stuff, and it was really cool. And then, of about 6 months, 9 months, I can't remember exactly, my boss at the time was the owner of the company. For some reason, I don't remember the circumstances, if I'm honest, just kind of goes, you're never going to be a good developer, or a great
Ooh.
developer. He said, you're never going to be a great developer. I'm like,
Ouch.
what? And coming from that high of being on top of the world, it was like, I was devastated completely. Like, I was done for about 2 weeks. And then I was like, nah, screw him. And it made me go the other way and just go for everything and just prove everything that, like, that was the
Yeah.
motivation. Like, you're not going to tell me that I can't do something.
So don't.
And in a way, that was the link, right?
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
spurred me on. I think that's why I'm here, to be honest.
Don't be pushed down. Recognizing the value in being able to move forward despite that.
Totally.
Yeah.
And right now, I would go, well, that's your problem. But when you're just out of uni and you don't
Yeah.
know anybody, you're like, holy crap, is this how it is? Am I never going to be great, right? So yeah, so that in like sort of backwards way was
Yeah.
the one that just nailed it.
Yeah, that's really interesting because I guess the fact that there are such negative links that are a part of our journey, sometimes those can be really harmful. Hopefully we can overcome those. But I think also because of the positive links, I'm sure there were some positive influences as well that
yeah.
were encouraging.
Tons.
So there you
That
go.
was
So
the one that got me like to, you know, sort of focus so
Yeah.
much on what I wanted to do.
yeah.
But yeah, it's tons of positive influences. Like there's two of them sitting right here,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
you know.
So I guess I'd ask all three of you, whoever wants to answer, what are some things that you think that the people watching could do to potentially improve their chances of being that support to others?
Say that again.
All right, so there are a bunch of people watching our stream
Yeah.
right now,
Oh.
and they'll watch the recording.
Yeah.
And I would love for them to come away with something that they could do to pay it forward. Because as much as they recognize that you two, for example, and us in some ways as well, are a part of supporting them to move forward, I recognize that they are also supporting other people, and I want to try and encourage them and give them something that they can do to think about.
I would say just to know that everyone in the industry right now today like has something to give. You know, like my son-in-law, who is just a few years into his career as a software developer, just started his own first podcast on imposter syndrome. I think you met him.
I talked to him about it.
Yeah, and you know, like, so it's a good example of like someone who's super early, who may feel like, oh, I don't have a lot to contribute yet.
Yeah.
But he really believes he can make a difference for a lot of people because so many, young aspiring developers feel this imposter syndrome, and it gets in their way of progress or going for it. And
Older ones feel it too.
totally. Like every step of the way you feel it, right?
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah.
But just like I think, just knowing that like you can have an impact.
Yeah.
Everyone has something to give and to offer, and that's what being part of a community is all about.
Don't be afraid. Like everyone starts out as a noob.
Yeah.
That's
and
right.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
become a cloud guru or a guru at something over time. And also don't try to know everything. There is no one person who knows everything about software or cloud. Like
Yeah.
you know,
Sam
that's
does,
right.
doesn't he?
well,
Actually, it's interesting you say that because when you've started a lot of the lessons in your courses, you start them off by saying, hello, cloud gurus. Now, that's an interesting statement to be making to someone who is learning about the cloud. So what made you decide to say to people, hello, cloud gurus, to call them cloud gurus when and they're obviously
I have
taking
no
that
idea,
course to
to
learn.
be honest. It was just like that's how I started the video, and I was
Yeah.
like, that sounds cool.
Yeah.
It just
It
becomes a
worked.
muscle memory, voice memory.
Yeah.
So, okay, hello, Cloud Gurus, and welcome to this lecture. In this lecture, we're going to discuss S3.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. I'd like to learn about S3. Go ahead. Keep going.
Simple storage service.
All right. Yeah.
Or is it simple storage solution?
I bet there's something like even though you say that, I bet there was something like subliminal about it, right?
I think so.
That like inspires people to be like, hey, like,
Absolutely.
he just called me a cloud guru, like.
Yeah.
That too.
I honestly, I think that a lot of people, when they've heard that, I think that a lot of them have said, wait a minute, what are you doing? I'm not a cloud guru. I am just learning this stuff. Why are you saying that
Yeah.
to me?
Yeah.
And I think in some ways, it actually sort of confronts that imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
It sort of
That's right.
confronts the self-doubt and says, no, that's where you're going. This is
That's right.
an aspirational maybe, but it's an empowering and it's something that you can achieve.
And then after they've heard it for the 10th time or
Yeah.
the 20th time, and they're actually making progress, then they start to
Thinking.
believe.
Yeah.
And there's another thing that I noticed you did as well, Ryan, is you left in a lot of mistakes in your courses. And
Yeah.
you're like, no, and I think
Oh, yeah,
I
yeah.
that
love
was
it.
crazy powerful because
Yeah.
that's genuine. Like,
Yeah.
oh, what happened? Let's figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Totally.
But those things. So don't be afraid to show your mistakes. I think is the one I would probably go for. Like, we all do it.
I think that's a really powerful one as well, because I think that seeing those mistakes in context, not only does it make it more genuine, authentic, that the real people make mistakes. It's
And a
not
lot of them.
it's not avoiding all mistakes that
Yeah.
makes you a professional. It is managing
Knowing how to troubleshoot
your
it.
way forward, right?
Totally.
Continuing to learn constantly. But then also, I think that from a course perspective, seeing those mistakes in context actually really grounds them in some sort of reality, rather than a whole bunch of happy path and then an hour at the end of, and these are all the error messages you might have seen when you were 3 hours ago in the course. So well, why did you tell me then, right? Yeah.
So true.
Well, how about any parting thoughts of any things to wrap things up in terms of links that have impacted you or advice
Links.
to people?
Well, I want to talk about making links maybe.
Yeah, making
Because,
links. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so I'm aware of this. I just talk to people. I go, hey, how you going? Right, and not
Never
everybody's
would have
like that.
guessed.
But it's such a good skill to learn. So if you can, and you're not that person, go to an event and just talk to one person, right? Just
Yeah.
make that, because eventually you'll find someone that's going to help you on your journey somehow, because you can't do it on your own.
You can't do it on your own.
No.
Yeah, and practicing that skill, it's a valuable thing, definitely.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, what is it?
Even when it's
People-
uncomfortable.
The people most afraid of is death, then public speaking, then death.
That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
That's right. If we can sort of work on that, like just talk to one person.
Yeah, that's a great tip. Anything you want to?
I'd just say you can never know everything. Don't ever try and hold yourself to that standard. That's
Yeah.
how you can sometimes it become almost debilitating and paralyzing, thinking, oh my
Yeah.
God, I just can't learn everything.
Yeah.
But if you just realize that you can't learn everything, and things change, like Python releases a new version and you have to learn new code. Like
Yeah.
you have to do continuous learning, especially in cloud and programming. You basically will never stop learning, but don't be afraid of that. Just try to figure out a way to learn in a fun way. So the way I like to learn is by getting hands-on and doing labs rather than just sitting there reading documentation, etc. So doing projects, that sort of thing.
Awesome.
So,
Yeah, always continuing to learn is such an important thing. I've sometimes said, always be curious, ABC. If you're always curious about things, then you'll continue learning the next thing that's obviously something you've come across because you're curious about it right now, and so it'll move you forward. What about you, Aaron?
I would like to challenge everyone listening to find one person to recruit into tech.
Nice.
Like just, like someone who has the potential, but maybe doesn't believe in themselves. You can make a difference for that person. Like just this last weekend, I was it was sort of an extended family reunion on my side. And my two nieces, who just graduated from high school, just enrolled in Utah Tech University.
Cool.
It's a new university in Utah. and they got a free Pluralsight subscription
Nice.
going. It's a partnership we have
Can
with
I
the
get that?
school. You have an endless supply.
There you go.
And so this sort of like opened up the conversation because of course they know I'm connected with the company
Right,
and
right.
like, you know, and it's got them thinking about they're going to this tech university. The university just rebranded its name to tech.
Okay,
And
yeah,
so it
yeah.
got them thinking like, should I be thinking about tech? So they asked me that conversation at dinner the first night and I didn't let go of it for 2 days.
Nice.
And we just
Okay.
talked about like, you know, you can do like, you have a place in, like you have
Yeah.
a massive place in this industry
Love it.
if it's something you want to do.
Right.
So let's just talk about what it is, what
Yeah.
it looks like, what the jobs are, like how you can have impact, like what kinds of things interest you. And by the end of it, like it seemed to really check a lot of the boxes of what they were looking for. But, you know, so many people like just sort of show up with a perception around what it's going to
Oh,
be
yeah.
like. And then they just cross it off the list and they
Ah,
don't. So I
yeah.
just think there's millions of people out there
Yeah.
in that situation right now. And it's all of us, all of you out there who can make a difference to change the narrative and change the
Yeah.
future.
Just to
one
add
person
one
at a
thing
time.
to that,
Yeah.
I didn't get into tech until I was 28.
There
so
you go.
there's
Yeah.
never, it's never too late
Yeah.
to just change careers.
And you didn't go to university for technology.
No, not at all.
That wasn't
Yeah,
your.
I do not have a university degree in tech at all.
Right.
And my brother, ironically, my brother has a degree in software engineering, and he ended up being the CEO,
Yeah.
running the business side.
business guy, yeah.
And I have the business degree, and
Yeah,
I
yeah.
ended up being the technical trainer. So,
Right.
Yeah.
you know, life is just like that.
I love that we can hear those stories because there's such an important counterbalance to the assumptions that we keep making individually and as a group of people, as an industry of technology or people thinking about technology. I really appreciate all of your insights and dealing with some of those assumptions and fixing them. So and sharing your insights. Thank you all. So thank you,
you.
Aaron,
Thank you.
Ryan, and
Thank you.
Lars.
Thank you.
Thank all of you.
And
Thank
all of you
guys.
for joining us. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
Cheers.